Knight versus Viking. Who would actually win a duel? Hollywood loves this matchup. The disciplined, steel-clad knight against the ferocious, axe-wielding Viking. We've all seen it. The brutal axe hacks against a shining shield, a battle of technique versus pure savagery. The knight, a walking fortress, methodically weathers a storm of wild attacks. It's a great image, but what if it's mostly wrong? What if the Vikings' savagery was actually a highly effective combat style? And what if the knight's greatest strength, his armor, was also a critical weakness? Today, we're breaking down the history of armor, weapons, and training to figure out who would actually walk away from a one-on-one duel. The answer might not be what you think, but this isn't fantasy. We're grounding this duel in history, and to do that, we have to define our fighters. Asking who wins, a knight or a Viking, is like asking who wins, a modern soldier or a fighter from the 1800s. The answer depends entirely on when. The Viking Age and the Age of Knights overlap, but they also span centuries of change. So let's get specific. Our Viking is a professional warrior from the 10th century. Not just a farmer who raids on the side, but a huskarl, a household warrior sworn to a jarl. He's a veteran of countless raids and shield walls, a man whose life is a mix of farming, sailing, and brutal combat. He's battle-hardened and in his prime. Our knight is from the late 14th century, the peak of plate armor. He's a man-at-arms, a professional soldier from a noble family who has trained for war since boyhood. His entire life has been dedicated to martial arts, horsemanship, swordsmanship, and fighting in tournaments and on the battlefield. He represents the best medieval military tech and training money could buy. The stage is set. A one-on-one duel on foot to the death. No horses, no armies, just two elite warriors. To find our winner, let's break it down, starting with the most obvious difference. Armor and protection. The knight's single greatest advantage, without a doubt, is his armor. A late 14th century knight is covered head to toe in articulating steel plates. We're talking a helmet like a bassinet, a solid breastplate, and full steel protection for his arms and legs. This isn't the clumsy 100-pound suit you see in movies. A well-made harness was custom fitted, distributing the weight so a trained man could move with surprising agility, though it was still physically demanding to fight in. This armor is practically immune to cutting attacks. A sword swing, even a powerful one, would just glance off the curved steel. It was designed to defeat the common weapons of the day. Underneath the plate, he's wearing chainmail to protect the joints, and a padded gambeson under that. This layered system offers incredible protection from cuts and helps absorb the shock from heavy blows. Now let's look at our Viking. His protection is much less complete. His most vital piece of armor is his helmet, probably an iron helm with a nasal guard like the famous Germanbu helmet. He'd wear a chainmail tunic or byrnie, reaching his mid-thigh. This is great against cuts and decent against thrusts, but it won't do much against a dedicated crushing weapon. For the rest of his body, he's relying on thick wool clothes and, most importantly, his shield. The Viking shield is a large, round piece of wood, often faced with leather and with an iron boss in the center to protect the hand. This shield isn't just for blocking, it's an active weapon used to bash, bind, and create openings. On paper, this is a landslide for the knight. The Viking has very few ways to hurt the knight with a simple cut or slash. His sword is all but useless against plate. A spear might find a gap, but that's a low percentage shot. The knight is a fortress, but armor has trade-offs. Full plate is hot, tiring, and restricts breathing more than mail. And while it has few gaps, they exist. The armpits, the inner elbow, the groin, the back of the knee, and the visor slits. These are the weak points that armored combat techniques were designed to attack. The knight is incredibly well protected, but not invincible. This brings us to their weapons. Weaponry. The knight's go-to weapon in a duel like this is the longsword, a versatile blade perfect for both cutting and, crucially, thrusting into the gaps of an opponent's armor. He'd also have a dagger for up-close work, but a smart knight might also carry a weapon made to defeat armor, a mace or a warhammer. These don't need to cut, they deliver focused, bone-shattering concussive force right through steel. The Viking's arsenal is built for a world of shields and mail. His main weapon is a single-handed axe or sword paired with his shield. The Viking sword is a fine weapon, but as we said, it's not getting through the knight's plate. The spear is also common, great in a battle line, but maybe less so in a fast-paced duel. But then there's the Viking signature weapon, the axe. And this is where things get interesting. A Viking axe isn't just a wood-chopping tool. It's a purpose-built weapon, and its physics are different from a sword's. All the force of a blow is focused on a small, sharp edge. While it's highly unlikely to split solid plate armor, the percussive impact is immense. A powerful axe strike to the knight's helmet could daze him or cause a concussion, even if it doesn't break the steel. The shape of the axe head is also a tool. The beard or the lower hooked part is perfect for hooking a shield or a leg to pull an opponent off balance. A Viking could use his axe to hook the knight's limbs or weapon, disrupting his structured fighting style and dragging him into a chaotic brawl. If our Viking opted for a two-handed Dane axe, he'd trade his shield's defense for terrifying power, delivering blows that could potentially crush and injure the knight even through his armor. The Viking's axe introduces an element of brutal, unpredictable physics, training, and fighting style. A knight's training was formal and lifelong. As a page and squire, he studied under masters-at-arms, learning complex fighting systems from combat manuals called Fechtbücher. These manuals teach a sophisticated martial art based on geometry, leverage, and timing. He fights in tournaments and as part of a disciplined unit. His style is efficient, methodical, and principle-based. The Vikings' training was life itself. It was the hard physical labor of farming, hunting, and sailing in a harsh land. Most of all, it was constant, real-world combat. Vikings trained from youth, practicing with weapons and wrestling, Glima. Their skills were honed not in a training yard, but in the chaos of a raid or the desperate push of a shield wall. This creates a huge difference in style. The knight is a technician. He's trained to manage distance, control the fight, and wait for the perfect moment to land a decisive thrust. His style is a form of fencing, even in armor. The Viking is a brawler. His style is aggressive, pragmatic, and built for close-quarters chaos. He knows how to use his shield to shove and his body to grapple, trip, and win by any means necessary. His goal is to overwhelm his opponent, break their structure, and turn the duel into a contest of raw strength where technical finesse matters less. This is the style of a raider, a man who uses shock and violence as a weapon. The knight is trained to fight another knight. The Viking is trained to fight anyone. This difference in mindset is key. Mindset and tactical approach. The knight's game plan is dictated by his gear. He'll use his longsword's reach to keep the Viking at bay. He'll use his superior armor to confidently deflect attacks, waiting patiently for the Viking to overextend so he can land a precise thrust to the face, armpit, or neck. He has every reason to be confident. His armor neutralizes the Viking's primary attacks. The Viking's mindset is completely different. He knows he can't win a fencing match. He knows his sword won't work. His only path to victory is to close the distance immediately and turn this into a messy, physical fight. His plan would be to crash into the knight, smother the longsword, and make it a grappling match. He'd likely charge in with his shield high, trying to slam into the knight and tie up his weapon. At that range, the knight's longsword becomes clumsy. Here, the Viking can use his shield to bash and his hand axe to make short, powerful strikes at joints or the helmet. This is where his grappling skill comes into play. If he can hook a leg and get the knight on the ground, the fight changes dramatically. An armoured knight on his back isn't helpless, but he's at a serious disadvantage. On the ground, the Viking can use his weight to pin the knight and try to pry off his helmet or find a gap with his dagger. This aggressive, grappling-focused approach is the Viking's best, and perhaps only, shot at winning. The duel scenario. So let's picture the fight. The gleaming knight holds his longsword, ready and balanced. The Viking grips his shield and axe, ready to explode forward. And he does. With a roar, the Viking charges, not to fence, but to collide. The knight, trained for a more measured duel, might be taken aback by the raw aggression. He tries to counter, maybe with a quick thrust that glances off the Viking's shield. Then comes the impact. The Viking slams his shield into the knight, a collision of wood and steel. This is the moment of truth. The knight, a powerful man anchored in a solid stance, is trained for this. He absorbs the shock, using his footwork to stay upright and manage the distance. The Viking is now dangerously close, but the knight is also a skilled grappler, trained in wrestling techniques designed for armored combat. The Viking swings his axe, aiming a concussive blow at the knight's head. The knight, rather than trying to block it with his sword, moves with the blow, turning his helmet to deflect the force. The clang is deafening, but the armor does its job. In that instant, the knight shoves back, creating a sliver of space, enough to use the hilt of his sword as a weapon or to draw his own dagger. The fight becomes a desperate, grinding struggle in the clinch. The Viking tries to hook a leg, while the knight tries to get a dagger into the Viking's armpit or neck. It's brutal, exhausting, and ugly. Conclusion and verdict. So, who would actually win? While the image of the savage Viking overwhelming the knight is compelling, the historical and tactical realities point in a different direction. The verdict comes down to this: the knight's path to victory is a high percentage strategy, while the Viking's is a low percentage one. The knight has better technology, period. His full plate armor is a near perfect solution to the weapons the Viking carries. His training, from the Fechtbücher, was literally designed for one-on-one duels against other skilled opponents. His strategy is to use his superior defense and reach to patiently dismantle the Viking, waiting for a clean, surgical strike. It's a strategy that requires skill, but his equipment gives him a massive safety net. The Viking's strategy, on the other hand, is a desperate gamble. He must close the distance, he must survive the knight's superior weapon, and he must turn the duel into a grappling match where he might have an advantage. It's a plan that has to work perfectly, and if any step fails, he's likely dead. Trying to wrestle a man in full steel who is also trained in wrestling is an uphill battle. In a large-scale battle, on horseback, or in many other situations, the knight's advantages would lead him to victory. But even in this specific duel, a raw one-on-one fight to the death, the warrior with the better armor and more specialized training has the decisive edge. The Viking's only chance is an aggressive, all-or-nothing rush. It's a strategy that could work, but the odds are heavily stacked against him. The knight isn't just a man in a can, he's an elite duelist. And in this fight, technology and training would almost certainly carry the day. Of course, this is just our breakdown of a fascinating matchup. A single mistake, a moment of luck, or a difference in individual skill could change everything. So, what do you think? Does the knight's incredible armor and training make it an easy win? Or does the Viking's aggressive, all-in strategy give him a real fighting chance? Let me know your verdict in the comments below. And if you enjoy historical matchups like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on the next one. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.